Hey YouTube land, what's up? It's Phoenix, and I am going to talk about my bipolar experience today. Start with a little history. Back in the day when I was younger, um, I found that I used to have these, well, I guess what they would call manic experiences where I would go and pretty much drink, party, and have promiscuous sex. Yes, we're just jumping right in. Um, and I don't know. I guess I thought I was just sowing oats. I knew that people who are younger, males, seem to be are tend to be very hypersexual. So I didn't really think anything of it. I would go through periods where I just kind of lost it, and I would go nuts and just do whatever I wanted to. Um, Unfortunately for my family, because I drove them nuts. You'll hear more about that in later videos. But when I got older, things sort of started changing. Now, I didn't really believe that I had bipolar. Still on the fence with it, but I'm a little more convinced now. Um, I started getting an indication. Well, one, my partner sat me down one day and was like, "I think you might be bipolar." And I was so offended. I was like, "What did you say to me?" I was not happy. I was just like, "Wow, wow, that's what you think of me." And then I was going for help for ADD, which I talked about in another video, and my behavioral therapy counselor, therapist, whatever, suggested that I might be bipolar. And I was like, okay, here we go. And one of the biggest reasons why I didn't believe it was because when I was younger, I was hyper. Um, and everything that I did seemed to be normal. Whereas in later on in life, more or less everything was more depressive. I Over the last 10 years, the depression has gotten worse and worse and worse. I've always had it, but it's gotten worse and worse and worse. And one of the things my partner said was, some of the things I did was irrational. And I was like, what? One of the instances he gave was when I woke up one day. This was about a year ago, year and a half ago, and I was like, I'm gonna start a garden right now. And so I got up, I went to Lowe's, I got the soil, I got the seeds, I got the little potter plants things, and I came home and then I dumped it out all over the table. And he was horrified. He's like, "What are you doing?" And I was like, "I'm gardening." And he was like, "You don't garden. Most people garden outside." And I was like, "I don't like getting dirty. I don't like being outside," which I don't. Didn't. Now I do. Um, but I was just like, for me, it just seemed completely normal. I don't like being dirty. I don't like being outside. I hate bugs. So do it all inside. And he was just like, "Ooh, that's weird." I was like, "It's nothing. We can just sweep it up." Another instance he brought up was when one day I just decided I was going to rearrange the entire house. And so I pulled everything out of all the closets, and it was a mess. I literally worked on the house for about, I started around 8 o'clock in the morning, and I stopped around 12:30 that night. The entire day. It was crazy. It was absolutely crazy, um, for lack of a better term. So, and then the last thing that I'll share is one day I decided that I was going to start a garden. We moved to a new place, and I was like, I'm going to start a garden in the back, and I need pallets. So I spent hours grabbing crates and pallets from around town. And Jay had recently showed me uh, a pile of pallets. And so, me, of course, I decided I was going to take all of them. Took me hours, and I completely filled the our little driveway with pallets. I got probably about 100 of them. Actually, probably a little bit more than that. To me, it seemed normal because I wanted to do what I wanted to do, and usually when I get something in my head, I go ahead full steam ahead. When it came down to doing, cleaning the house, I was unemployed because I had lost yet another job. And so I was trying to please him. I wanted to, I guess the way I justify it is the fact that I wanted to do something special for him and have the house completely rearranged and beautiful so that he'd be like, wow, so that I wouldn't, um, so that he felt like I had done something during the day. And I don't know where the idea came from. I just was just like, wow, this will really impressive, and maybe he won't re- resent me for not being able to keep a job. And I went. So for me at the time, it all made sense. To everybody else, I guess I was a little weird. So by the time I got the second diagnosis, I was still like, because it's a little bit different. Back in the day, I've never heard of bipolar changing, so I didn't really believe it. Um, so I told you about my journey with the ADD in a previous video, and when I went to go see the therapist, I finally went and got tested, and then I went back to the psychiatrist, and he put me on a mood stabilizer. All of a sudden, I've been on it for a couple weeks now, and all of a sudden, I noticed that it'd been a couple days since I really hated myself, which is something that I dealt with every day. To be graphic, every day I would wake up and I'd go to the bathroom and I'd sit on the toilet and I would just sit there and think about how much I hated myself, how much I regretted being alive, how much I regret putting my mother through all the stuff that I did, and wondering, because my mom passed, just I know she loved me, but how much did she hate me for all that I put her through? Everything that I did bad, I would think about, and it would haunt me throughout the day. Um, I wasn't suicidal. I did get Baker acted in 2005 because I tried to commit suicide, but um, I'm not suicidal and haven't been for a very long time, but I constantly wish for death. Driving, I would just wish that someone would come hit me. Or when I was driving, I'd be over a bridge. I'd be like, oh, it'd be great if the car would just malfunction and I somehow ended up in the bottom of the river. Thoughts like that were just like overwhelming. Now, one thing about me is I'm not a very open person like that, to where I necessarily share those feelings or display them. I've always had that mentality, mainly because, well, one, I come from my dad's a pastor. He used to be a missionary, and you leave all that stuff at home. You don't take it in the church. You don't show it in the church. Um, what happens at home stays at home. And then two, I was a waiter. You don't make money if you're all depressed and stuff like that. No one wants to see that. And so I kind of have the mentality that, what you feel inside, you keep inside. You don't necessarily display it. So I'm very good at putting on a happy face, even when I'm sad. Actually, most of the time when I'm sad, I start amping myself up. When I know I feel like that, I start drinking tons of coffee, tons of energy drinks, 5 hour energies, all at the same time. Back in the day, I would resort to other means, but that's a completely different video. So um, I noticed that though I still might feel a little depressed at times, it's nowhere near like I don't feel like I've fallen in a pit and I can't get out. It's been days since I've wished death on myself. Um, it's been really good. So there's a really good chance that I very well might be bipolar, which would explain a lot of things. It would explain a lot of the crazy behavior that I did. Chances are I was manic. Um, when it comes down to the lows, like my highs are very high and my lows are very low. And and I also recently found out that certain types of antidepressants will make you fluctuate between mania and depression faster. I think they call it rapid cycling, which explains a lot because I would have like a couple days where I'd be way up here. But then when I started tapering down, I would have a day where I knew that the next day was going to be horrible because that's the way it always went. When I felt that good, it's like I would go up, 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 and then I'd start going down. And I knew the next day I'd be like the low ground. It would be horrible. So this video is one. I know there's a stereotype when it comes to mental illness, and but it's no excuse not to get help. Um, that's what it's there for, and you can't live your best life if you're afflicted. So my hope is that being honest with my experience, maybe someone might see the video and maybe it'll help them go get help. Because I tell you right now, I feel so much better than I did weeks ago. Um, and I didn't even really know that that was a problem that I had. I refused to believe it. And it's funny because I still am kind of like, but at the same time, if I'm responding to the medicine, chances are there was a problem. So that's a short version of my experience with being diagnosed as bipolar. I hope this helps you. Have a great day.